you have absolutely no sympathy for? Story 1. People who were so terrible to their kids that now that they're older, they don't have a relationship with each other. The kind of people who act like their kids betrayed them and don't take responsibility for how things turned out. Story 2. Family vloggers. You people, exploiting your children who can't consent for money. To make money off your own child is absolutely shameful. Bad management getting fired. Story 3. So much low-hanging fruit here. I'm gonna say people who are rude to servers. Them, people who say I'm not mean, I'm just honest, and they always say the rudest you've ever heard in your life. Story 4. My coworker who complains about money but then says he has to find a different second storage facility because the rental got too expensive, and I want to scream at him, get rid of yours so you won't need a second storage unit. Sray, I needed to get that off my chest into the internet void. Kanye, he's just a terrible person. Story 5. People who drink and drive. When I was about 11 or 12 I witnessed a bad accident on the highway. A drunk driver crossed the median and hit a minivan head-on. The screaming from the mom pinned in the passenger seat was horrific. Everyone else was either dead or dying. We saw it happen in front of us and my dad stopped to help and told me and my sister to stay in his truck. I didn't listen. I remember the drunk driver getting out of his car and yelling, and a group of people had to hold him down because he was mad at the minivan for hitting him. That group that held him down were not gentle about it because most of them saw what happened or were aware quickly what happened. I've cut people out of my life if I find out they drink and drive at all. Story 6. Retired Bronx elementary school teacher here. All the parents that are suddenly shocked when their kids are nearly illiterate and become confrontational and disrespectful to their parents after ignoring teacher observations for years. Love it when they start singing a different tune when their children start behaving towards them the same way I endured it when their children were small. Of course the behavior of the crotch goblins are then blamed on a bad school system. Story 7. Literally any billionaire. Listen, I get that some people just want to live a luscious lifestyle off their millions, and so I don't particularly condemn them for not giving it away, but not a single MF needs €1 billion, $1 billion for Yanks when there's people starving and struggling. By all means buy a mansion and a couple Ferraris. Still iffy, but whatever, we all dream of something. When it gets to €1,000 million you absolutely have no excuse. That is hoarding resources and the epitome of selfish. Billionaires see starvation and just chill with all those assets for themselves. I couldn't dream of it. Whenever I have a spare change I give it to someone. These guys have spare land. Story 8. People that end their marriage and destroy their families because they are bored or want to find themselves or see what's out there and then end up regretting the decision and being alone. Story 9. Incels. Proud Boys, white supremacists, male supremacists, any supremacists really, Nazis, any oppressive person. I have no sympathy for your weakness and inability to accept yourself. Story 10. Religious individuals who attack non-religious people with questions like, if you don't believe in the Bible, what's stopping you from stealing and murdering all you want? If the only thing stopping you from doing horrible things to other people is a book and fear of eternal damnation, you are a bad person at your core. Story 11. MAGA folks, specifically the ones who see all the harm and damage he's creating, and double down on their rabid support, especially if they claim to be Christians and or patriots, despite him going against literally everything Christ stood for, and ignoring the Constitution. Story 12. Anyone that thinks people who take their life are selfish, mate, that's not the thought process of someone that's suicidal. It's about internal pain that hurts so much you can't live with it anymore, that and thinking you are nothing but a burden to those you love and the entire planet, thinking everyone is better off without you, it's hard, man. Story 13. I am a Cuban person from Miami. I have no empathy or sympathy whatsoever for immigrants who voted for Darth Tangerine and are now at risk of deportation. BC they thought it wouldn't apply to them. I truly hope they all get exactly what they voted for. It will at least thin out traffic. Story 14. People who drive under the influence of alcohol or drugs, if they harm or kill someone, I refuse to call it an accident because it isn't an accident, it is a deliberate act, a choice to do something that you aren't fit to do with a life-threatening machine. And as such should be regarded as murder or attempted murder, whichever is applicable. Story 15. Child molesters, not an 18-year-old senior dating having with a 16-year-old junior too. Anyone who cheats on their spouse and it blows up in their face. Story 16. People who decided to not vote or vote for Trump because the Democrats supported Israel. The MAGAs are well MAGAs. But the people who didn't vote or voted for Trump because Democrats supported Israel I don't have sympathy for. They are the ones who got us in this mess because of this one thing. They were childish, and I do have sympathy for you right now. Story 17. At this point, the woe is me Trump voters. If 200 million people tell you that a guy is a con man, explain how the con will work, tell you you're the target of the con and offer you a viable way to not get conned and you're all like, but trans people are icky, you deserve what you're gonna get. Story 18. Addicts who constantly choose their addiction over their kids. I get that it's a sickness and they need treatment. Still doesn't excuse neglect or abuse. Story 19. Anyone who voted for Trump and is only just now rethinking their support for him now that it's personally affected them negatively, disrespectfully, we tried to tell you for 8 years. Story 20. Protesters who get hurt while blocking roads. Emergency services are affected by these idiots also. A woman in Kent was being blocked from rushing to the hospital after her 81-year-old mother was carried there in an ambulance. Story 21. So know that I am a public school teacher. When I give my answer, I have no sympathy for adults who have children with IEPs 504S special needs who get accommodations who voted for Trump and want to see the Department of Education fall. Especially if they realize that their child's accommodations are in danger of being removed if the Department of Education goes bye-bye. You should have thought about these consequences back in November. Story 22. Men who abuse women, those guys. Anyone who supports Trump or Musk, I don't have the time or patience to deal with that level of stupidity anymore. I am now laughing at parents who say their kids are not vaccinated, great, and then they are sterile or dead from something a vaccine could have prevented. I will laugh in your face. And I will tell you it was well earned. I don't care about you and your crotch goblins. Story 23. People who abuse children, elderly and animals. I'm a pacifist, but on these cases they can do whatever to those monsters, cut them to pieces if necessary. Story 24. People that play victim. They're so annoying to have to deal with, and so many people come to their aid, but then turn their backs on actual victims because people like to play the victim so much. Story 25. Traffickers. I feel like most awful things you can at least understand the motivation of the people doing them, even if you ultimately feel like it's still evil. Traffickers are literally just I'm okay sentencing someone to years of abuse because I want money. Parents who complain that their adult children went no contact with them. Story 26. This is going to be a hot take, but I don't have sympathy for middle-classers who cry about billionaires pulling the ladder up behind them when they do the same exact thing to people of a lower social class than them. One time I was telling my uncle, who is a homeowner and firmly middle class, about how landlords in the LA fires are jacking up rent prices because people are desperate for shelter after their houses burned, and he said it's just basic economics. But I'm supposed to empathize with you because gas prices are too high, world's smallest violin, buddy. I agree the existence of billionaires is evidence of wage theft, but if you're a middle classer and you have unempathetic, borderline violent attitudes against poor people and homeless people, you can get. Story 27. Overweight people who act like they're handicapped because of their weight. I get that some have diseases or really unfortunate genetics, but for the vast majority, just eat less. Story 28. People who lose their kids and constantly make choices that prevent them from ever getting them back yet keep visiting and telling them they're coming home someday. It makes me so angry. My ex-best friend is out there using and selling drugs again, and she still believes she'll get her kids back. No, she won't. The random drug tests will catch her and her kids will spend their whole childhoods in foster care. She has access to help that has helped before. She was over a year sober before, but she refuses to get help because everyone has walked away. You can do whatever you want to yourself, but to force your kids to live in foster care and lying to them about coming home someday makes you a monster. They're a baby and a toddler. They don't understand their mom is lying. They don't understand where they are and what it means. Worst part is she makes lies about everyone who left to cope. She tried to get me jumped by spreading rumors because I put my foot down and left. Everyone hates me over something I never did. She ruined her life, her kids' lives, and the lives of everyone who left her. I have zero sympathy for her anymore, MAGA voters. Story 29. A lying, rapist president that pardons criminals and anyone that facilitates his demise of the United States got because he's being blackmailed by a dictator. Story 30. Hit and run drivers. 5 years ago my Newfoundland was struck by a car who fled the scene. Fortunately, we got him to an emergency vet where they told us his back leg was shattered and they might have to amputate, but he would survive. 5 years later he kept his leg and is still kicking. Story 31. People that hurt people, not just hurt their feelings, I mean like people that scam, steal, rape, murder, cheat, abuse, people who use their power in some way to hurt others with no sympathy and no regard how it affects them. Story 32. People who voted for President Trump and then lost their jobs or lost the funding for their business or had their spouse illegally sent to a foreign jail. Story 33. Non-woke people who slam and criticize marginalized folks. When they wind up getting hurt, I have a very hard time scrounging up any compassion for them. Story 34. In general, people who don't abide by the golden rule, treat others as you wish to be treated. If you can't be bothered to follow the social contract, kindly off from society. Story 35. People who refuse to disagree with the candidate they vote for. IDC if you're Republican or Democrat, but if you 100 agree with everything your candidate says, it shows you have no open mind or free thinking and are impossible to talk to. Story 36. Nazis or Nazi sympathizers. Also, the lamentations caused by the repercussions of voting the current administration into office. This is what you voted for. Pay better attention next time. Story 37. People who want help themselves. Self-identifying victim types who dramatically complain about their own actions and don't try to fix their life at all. Story 38. The elderly who vote for Republicans then get screwed over in the process. All those people buying Trump Bibles, Trump gold coins, Trump meme crypto, every single one that lost every penny they had. I feel absolutely nothing for them. In short, I hate racists. I'm full John Brown in that regard. Story 39. MAGA Americans who suffer at the hands of their orange god king. They wanted him to hurt other people and can't deal when it happens to them. Regardless, they will keep voting for him. Story 40. Healthcare CEOs in America. In general, powerful people who acquire and maintain their power by using and abusing others. Super rich people that don't spend a significant part of their fortune on social programs. Zero sympathy, no matter what happens to them. Story 41 People with full-sized or larger Trump flags, bumper sticker. Don't love it, but it lets me know where not to park next to. Yard sign. You're a voter. I disagree with you, but it's your yard. But once you get to full-sized flag territory, you know everything you need to know about that person. And what kind of flag they'd really fly if they could get away with it. And that they hope for a time when they will be able to get away with it. Story 42 Parents who complain about their children never reaching out or visiting them. I know it isn't all black and white, but coming from the family I did opens your eyes a lot. And I can't help but assume it's for a valid reason, and the parents are trying to spin the blame around. Story 43 People who voted for Trump and are losing all their benefits. My elderly neighbors voted for him and they're freaking out about getting their SS and veterans benefits and having to rejoin the workforce full-time at 70. I have a family friend on Section 8 and she's about to be homeless. A friend has childcare vouchers and now has to decide which child gets to go to daycare and which ones will go to the grandparents' house so she and her husband can work. I just sip my wine and ask them if they like being othered with the rest of us. They ask me where is my sympathy to their problems. And I told them I lost it when I learned they voted for this and they should be happy it's going exactly how they wanted. They just cry, we meant other people, and I tell them welcome to the other club. Absolutely zero sympathy for these people. Story 44 Trump supporters. MAGA Cubans Latinos who supported him and got deported. Farmers who have or will lose their farms. Idiots who thought he was lowering grocery prices instantly. Sure, we all suffer from Trump's stupidity, but I worry about the people who fought against this, not the traitors who vote to own the libs.